All right, so welcome in everyone. This is our flow recap for the week of December 15th to December 19th. As always, we're going to recap the flow. We're going to look at the whale entry, look at what stuck out on the contract. We'll look at the max return of the contract. We'll kind of take an eye on where the whale exited. And for those that are new to this is a live recap. So at the end, if you got questions about any of the flow, feel free to drop it in the chat and we can revisit that. But let's get started here. So Monday, we had the 220.27 mRNA puts here. So this whale is down here right now. We're going to take a peek here. This is a little longer term flow here. So again, with the longer term flow, sometimes it can take a little bit to materialize. Just kind of historically looking at it, we had a large spike of net put premium on the day. We have had spikes of net put premium every day this week here, so that is something kind of sticking out to me there. Little call premium on Thursday and then today as well too. But yeah, hey, welcome Benny. So just kind of looking at the flow here, we'll look at that candle here and just kind of looking at the flow, how it came in. Again, it reads as a buy, and I always tell everybody this, just keep in mind, these are the rules that I'm going by, and just because the rules are there doesn't mean the flow is going to always run your way. You do have to have risk management in here. You just never know what the full trade is, even if there's not another trade with it that's a multi-leg. There can always be a bigger multi-leg trade, but this flow, it reads just like a buy. IV spikes when it comes in. Your spot is filling at the ask, and just keeping an eye on that IV here on the way up. Spot's filling at the ask the entire time. IV is staying up. This is all the same timing, so we can take a really good educational guess that this is one person. Again, we don't 100% know for sure if this whale is opening or closing. And Benny, we'll do questions at the end here, just FYI. You kind of joined in a little late, but we'll do questions at the end here, so feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll get to them at the end. But no worries at all. You dropped it in at the end. It's not like the typical normal stream where I just kind of do everything at once. I just want to kind of recap the flow here quick, and then we'll do your questions at the end. So no, don't worry at all. But this one reads as a buy. I mean, again, a lot of time on these here 63 days. More than likely, they're probably waiting on a longer term move there. And our whale is still in here. You can see that volume carried over into open interest. It's been sitting there still. So something like this, I know I have people ask me if they'd take it. Again, if you like discounted entries and hunting for this kind of flow, that is something you can do. But this is our one loser of the week so far. So also on Monday, we had the 1226 ONDS8 call, and just kind of looking at here, this isn't the full premium either. Let me go back to mRNA. So looking at that here, it's 371,000. You're only seeing that small premium because I'm saving that contract so I can go back to it. So it's that specific part of that contract there. I've had those questions as well. So ONDS, the 1226.8 call here. So we're going to go back to Monday and take a peek at it, how it came in. Let me pop this to 1 day. So looking at Monday here, this was our whale 70. These actually popped kind of quick up to 79, and then we just kind of chopped here. You can see that net call premium rising. You got good call volume as well. And this whale from the 1215, majority of that volume carried over, so we can make that good assumption that whale more than likely stayed in there. And we'll touch on these other volumes here when we pop it out the day, but I want to pop on that actual raw flow here. So again, just kind of looking at that, how it comes in here. Again, this is pretty textbook flow here. So you do have some flow before. Again, probably not related to this. We just 100% don't know. But you can see how when that flow comes in, that IV rises here. So you're reading that flow from the bottom up. So I'm Central Time again for those that are new. But so 9:35, you can see once that flow comes in here and you just see that time going up, that timing is 100% matching. IV is rising as that flow comes in. Spot's coming in about a cent below the ask, and it rises up to the ask there. So really good sign there. That's a buy. Just kind of following that IV up here to 139.20. You get a small little drop here. It's only on 5,000 premium of that full trade there, 69 contracts, and that IV rises again there. So that's something I'm willing to discount. Now, if it was like 5,000 contracts or a large chunk of the or size there, I'd look at it a little different. But that IV stays up that entire time. Spot fills at the ask. That looks good. So let's pop this out to the week. So I'm doing the full range of the contracts as well. So typically you're not going to exit at the top. It's very rare, but I like to do the full recap just so everybody can kind of see. So we're going to first come down here and look at that volume and open interest. We had 12,000 contracts here traded on the day. Majority of those carried over. We know that whale more than likely held. Now, you're getting lots of volume here and a lot of contracts changing hands. You don't see a massive drop in that open interest here until the 18th. So that big red candle here is probably that whale getting out about 45 here or so. So you can kind of see just kind of a visual here. Large chunk of volume at the bid. And again, not everything at the bid is a exit, but this whale more than likely got out here. These did end up hitting 90 that on the 17th here at open here. They were in the money. They finished today 13% in the money, and they did hit the high here of 131, and we closed right at that high almost. These are 13% in the money. So this whale, and I got my little handy dandy spreadsheet here. So first from that 70, that whale entry up to that max return there, that's 131%, or sorry, not 100, $1.31 on the contract. So that's an 87.14% return here. And going back to that Moderna one here too, I didn't touch on that. If this whale is truly still in here and truly bearish on here with that time, they're down 58%. So should you let contracts get down 58%? I personally wouldn't, but again, it kind of comes down to your risk management, knowing that these contracts are a little longer dated here. So one more time back to the ONDSs. These closed at the high here, 131, 87.14% on those. And I like to tell people when I'm looking at flow here, I'm looking for at least a minimum of 10-15% return on those. If you're up 10%, you should at least have a stop on to break even. 10%, it doesn't sound like a lot when you see these big 300% winners, but 10% is consistent and you will build your portfolio pretty quick as well. So those are the trades from Monday. So now looking at Nvidia here. Nvidia made a move that same day. So we're going to go back here to Tuesday and take a peek at that. Or sorry, not Tuesday, Wednesday. So here is our whale here. So this was 10,000 contracts at $1.88 for 1.9 million. Now let's take a peek at the flow here. Let's go find our whale. So here's our whale. Now this one came in as a block trade, and typically when I'm talking about block trades, that just means they're coming in a single block. You don't have the flow like the ONDS where it's coming in different little sizes and you can read it that way. So typically when it's a block trade, sometimes we don't have flow around it, so it would just be this trade in that piece of flow, and you don't really have anything to kind of look at around it to get an idea. So this one we do have flow before and after. So just kind of looking at the flow around it helps you get an idea. That 841.40 here, we don't know for sure if this whale is connected. I would just say no because we can't 100% connect it. We know this one for sure is the same whale. But you just notice how you're building up to that premium. And that, I gotta grab a drink here, sorry. How when you're building up to that premium in size, that IV starts to rise and that spot is filling at the ask, and the large part here when that size is coming in that premium, that's your big IV spike there. So that's a good sign there. And you do get a little more premium here after Again, we don't know for sure if this is connected or not. It's about a minute later. But if this is connected, again, another one where that size is wide or a little larger premium, and an IV spike. Again, we don't know for sure, but kind of an educated guess. Potentially it is. But these ran same day here. So this is why I always tell people too, flow is very time sensitive. If you see this flow coming in at 188 and that whale's in 188 average, should you be grabbing them at, let's just say 219? Probably not, because that whale's up significantly already. So again, this one just kind of chopped for a little bit. And we got a really nice run here and just kind of chopped near the highs for the day. Now popping back out to Friday. Oh, we'll do 3 days here. Now, this is why I always tell people too, you need to have risk management and kind of manage your own trades and not just follow these whales off a cliff. So a majority of that volume carried over, and some more volume carried over here into Friday as well too, but you don't see any big massive candles that are about this size. So just kind of visually right away, you know that whale's more than likely still in here. And a lot of that volume still, or open interest is still there, and you haven't had any massive volume spikes. Look at how much, if this whale truly is bearish on Nvidia still, look at how much profits this whale gave up from that 249, and they're at 180 now. So they're back below their entry. So that's why I'm always telling people to adjust your stops up and secure profits. If you really like the flow, you can re-enter it, but re-enter it with profits. Don't re-enter it at a loss. And these even that next day, 204, have a stop on here when we open up. But 272 for the high, so that 188 to 270, where were we? 272 for a high that same day. That gives us a 44.68% intraday gain. And 44%, you should start thinking about maybe securing some profits. That's a significant return there. So up next, we have this next one is the best one of the week, the NCLH calls. So very good move on these ones, just popping out that net premium. Not a lot of net call premium yesterday, but you see that bid side put premium just dropping and call volume picking up. Now, again, looking at the raw flow, we had 3,800 contracts at 124,000. Majority of that volume carried over. Just kind of basing it off this candle 3,800, that's larger than 1,596 open contracts at the time. We know this was 100% for sure an opening trade. There's no doubt about that at all. So now coming in to look at the raw flow, I always pop the results out so I can get a good look at it. So you can see it's coming in at 31 here. That's not right at the ask, but it's a penny below. So you can say it's more on the ask side here. So IV's at 43.35. IV spikes when it comes in. Spot is filling at the ask. IV stays up the entire time. It's a repeated hit ascending fill. That just means that spot price increased at a point in here and it's coming up. And you can see 2 seconds later, and this is why it's kind of important to keep an eye around that flow as well. The flow around the other flow. 2 seconds later, large size and large premium. Again, educated guess, and this just comes with screen time and reading the tape over and over. I've been using unusual whales since 2021, 2022. So imagine how many hours of screen time I have looking at this every single day. So it takes time to learn, but with patience and just getting the right education, you can learn this too. It's very simple to learn. It just takes time. But this large size here, so it's showing a bid here, but 32 is your technically, which was getting filled at the ask here. So once you're starting to get a lot of that volume on there, that bid ask can kind of get a little funky. Again, just screen time and watching this for so long, you can probably just assume this is at the ask. Again, nothing is 100% for sure though, but just kind of reading it, it looked good. And we got our big move up today, obviously choppy on the day. Did hit 35 on the day yesterday. Actually, I think 37 there for a high, but massive move today. 65 for a high. We closed near the high at 62. That is a max return of from 32 to 6,500 and 3.13%. So really good move on those. And now we're going to look. We had two pieces of flow from today. And typically on Fridays, I won't spend too much time on these just because they probably haven't made a massive move yet. So we'll revisit these two next week. But the IREN put sells here. So keep in mind, when you are selling puts, people will automatically think that's bullish. It is bullish, but it can be neutral to bullish, because when you're selling contracts, this contract can chop at this level, or the stock can chop at this level. If it stays above that 40.05, or well, technically 34, so if they drop below 34, they can exercise, and that whale would have to buy them back, all that. But essentially, with this, when you're selling premium, you want theta to eat those contracts away so you can collect all that premium. So right now, these closed at 180. So like right now, or I've got them closing, so 180. So that whale's collected only 4% of that premium. They get handed the premium up front, but that's a whole nother story. But looking at this, so this is the opposite of looking at like buying calls or buying puts. You want that IV to drop, and you want that spot to be coming in at the bid there. So just kind of looking at it here, when those puts come in, that IV drops here, that spot is filling at the bid. Looks good there. And we come back here, and again, 96.76, that IV staying down there. That spot is filling at the bid. Looks good, looks good. It reads as a sell. And just kind of using market knowledge as well too. These are 15% out of the money. Odds are the stock's probably not going to drop 15% in 28 days. Again, you just never know what can fully happen, but theoretically it's probably not going to drop that much in 28 days. As theta's eating the contracts away, and kind of knowing next week's a short week as well too, with the market closing early on Wednesday and being closed Thursday. That's day and a half of theta decay where the stock's not even moving, so they're collecting premium that way. So that one we'll revisit next week as well too. But whales collected 4% premium, nothing major on that one. And I want to touch on one more thing about that too. So again, selling puts, I always say neutral to bullish, and selling calls would be neutral to bearish, because again, that stock doesn't have to even move a penny, and if those contracts expire out of the money, that whale collected that premium. So BAC here, our last one of the day, the 1,254.5 puts here. This one was actually one that we caught on the live stream here. So let's take a peek at this. This one actually was very good. I actually really like this one in real time. So again, here's your flow before. You see when that flow starts to come in here, it's a repeated hit, essentially just meaning you're getting a lot of contracts coming in a couple seconds. IV spikes. That spot is filling at the ask. Little wider bid-ask spread, and you're filling at the ask. That's a good sign. And this isn't a massive bid-ask spread either, so it's good, but you see it fill on that ask side versus if it was like 49 and 50. It's that 1 cent separation. You get a little more separation here, and you see that more urgency that way. So IV stays up to the 1734, looking good coming in here. And you do 3 minutes later, that's not, more than likely not related there, so wouldn't even count that. And these pretty much closing at 50 there, so break even on those. 2 weeks on those, you're 1% out of the money. Good sign there. And premium's just kind of flat here as well. Put volume picking up here towards the end of the day as well too. So good sign there. But that's the flow recap for the week. So I'm going to grab your questions here and then get everybody out of here. So the first one on the flow chart, box one says, was the trade just open? I still have the... So like Benny, perfect example here. Let's do like the NCLHs. Like when we'll go back to yesterday. How to tell if it's an opening trade. So you had 4,391 contracts come in. You only had 1,596 open contracts at the time. So think of it like this. Can that 4,000 number fit into that 1,596 number? It cannot. So you know for sure this is an opening position. If that volume is greater than the open interest on a candle like this, you know it's an opening trade. Now, I'm going to pop this back to 1217 and kind of show you maybe a bad example. So like this, when you see something like this, you don't know for sure if it's an opening trade because you have 384 contracts traded on the day and there's already 1,544 open contracts. You don't know if that open interest is going to drop in the morning or if that open interest is going to increase or if it's going to kind of stay the same. So that's kind of what I mean when you're looking for an opening trade. So, and like when you're looking at the volume versus open interest too, you have to kind of look at the chart as well like this. So like when we come in, I'm just going to see if I can find one from the flow feed here from today. Like, I'm just trying to find a good example here quick. So 1 second. Like this. So the core weave puts here, or well, this isn't from today, but okay, we'll do it from today. Let's go back. So like, I'm just trying to find a quick good example. Let's see. Trying to find a small name with a lot of volume on it. So like this, so we're going to look at the Tesla 1, 2, 26, 457 puts. So this, we don't know, like, so that volume is bigger than the open interest. So, okay, I'm perfect. Glad you just asked that right now. So you're asking, should I look if the volume's bigger than the open interest, but it's not real time. So is that, yeah, this is from this is from today. This is actually from today. So the issue with, you want to look for the volume greater than the open interest, but you have to look at the actual tape. So like the NCLHs, when we looked at those, you could tell it was one large stick of volume coming in. You know for sure it's an opening trade. Now, like when we look at the Teslas here, that volume is greater than the open interest, but when you're looking at that feed here, there's all these other volume spikes here. So you don't know for sure until that open interest updates would be coming Monday if what's being held and stuff. So like this volume is not the same as like this volume from, I don't want to do it like that and confuse you. So that volume's not the same as like this volume where you can see it's a clean one big chunk of volume coming in versus all those little tiny pieces of volume coming in. So it's just kind of, you have to visualize it too, like easy, clean, and you know the timing's all the same. You can take a really good educated guess that this is an opening trade. So hopefully that kind of answers your question there. Yes, yep. So like the NCLH, very clean candle, and I'm going to go back to the Teslas here one more time. And do it side by side. That might help you a little bit more. So like you see that volume's greater than the open interest. So like if you're just looking at the volume, you're just looking at the volume here. Okay, well, great. The volume is greater than the open interest. You might think, okay, well, it's an opening trade. Well, looking deeper here, this volume with all the little spikes is not the same as this big, clean one opening candle here. I might type something up here because this is a really good example we can use here, actually. So I'm going to keep those up, and I'll do that after this. And your other question, so what is multi-leg? See on tab option. So multi-leg, I don't trade multi-legs. I'm not a fan of it. Essentially, the multi-leg is, let me again just pop open the feed to today. So like multi-leg, you'll see these arrows here. So if you click on that arrow, it will show you the possibly related multi-related multi-leg trades. We don't, so the way Unusual Whales pulls it, they assume it's that contract. Again, you 100% won't know for sure. It's, again, very educated, a very educated guess. I don't like multi-legs because there's too many moving parts in there. I stay away from them. But essentially the multi-leg means like there's two different contracts connected. So like this one, the 123.26.23 put and the 123.26 put are connected to each other. Like if you wanted to kind of get an idea of what it potentially could, the move could be, I pop it in the profit calculator, look at the table, and it can kind of tell you what that multi-leg is looking for. Again, it's just telling you based off the two contracts that are there that are assumed to be related. I don't like multi-legs. I don't like following them because they can continuously roll them out or put something else in there. I like the single legs. They're easier to follow and all that. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. I don't want to say they're junk, but I treat them as junk. So, okay, M1. Are there any easy ways to track open interest or just to write it down and check? So, like if you're looking, so Unusual Whales has it built in, so they have an open interest explorer. So like you can filter it however you want here. So like every morning I like to look at like the highest open interest increases. This is a good way to kind of find potential moves for the upcoming day. Again, I look at 90% ask side here, and I do look at bid side too for the selling of the premium part. But you can easily do that. And I mean, again, it's all filterable in here however you like. Whatever works for you. I kind of have stricter filters, obviously. But essentially that updates and it'll just tell you right away. You can sort it by the highest open interest, volume, out of the money percent, however. But for your highest, so it's going to pull in your highest open interest here. Like if you wanted to look at things that are at least 70% multi, like you're going to get more options here. You might see more flow that's interesting to you there. So really easy way to kind of find that there. So let's see, that did okay. Because that 19,000 could be a bunch of people buying multi. Yeah, nope, you are correct on that, Benny. How do you avoid that? So you can also, like, if you don't want to look at multi-legs, you can come down here and you can just put on single leg only too, and it'll wipe out all the multi-legs too. I keep them on just because I like to see everything that's going on. You can just do single leg if you want, and it'll wipe out all the multi-legs. Kind of sort your data down there too. So you can use high open interest as a way of finding volatility, which would be good for one-day options. So we don't know 100% what the stock is going to do that day, but a good way to find plays, I mean, like with the open interest, you get a good idea of finding names where all that volume carried over. So like this is a good way to kind of look. Like, let's do, am I on the ask side? Okay, yeah. So like the NVIDIA 116.26 108 puts. So this updates in the morning at, I believe it's 5:45 a.m. Eastern time. So you get that update before the brokers, which is really nice. But like this, you know that volume already carried over. So like you can see, and this one's not the best because there's already some open interest. Let me find a better one quick. 1 second. So like this, okay, we'll do the hood, the 1285 puts. So like this one, you already can confirm it's an opening trade. And most of that and all that volume carried over, big chunk of it carried over. Because yesterday, on the 18th, you had the 9,680 or 668 contracts here, and most of those carried over. So you already had that open interest update, so you don't have to wait for that next day. So like this is a good way for beginners to kind of keep an eye on that too as well. Like instead of waiting and following that flow and making sure it updates. Now, like the NCLHs, and I keep going back to it, like right away, it's a quick, easy visual. Like, let me go back to it again, sorry. Like, it's just an easy, quick visual. Like, when you look at this yesterday, you know, just looking at this, there's no large candles after this, so it's almost impossible that this whale got out. Like, it's 99.99999% positive this whale's still in. And you get that open interest update on the next day. Obviously, some small little candles there, but it's not near that 3,800 size where that whale's getting out, if that kind of makes a little more sense. But that's I'm gonna end the flow recap video. I'll hang out for a couple more minutes if you guys got some questions though.